Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Asher Agency, your full-service marketing partner serving clients nationwide. Whatever you need to connect with your audience and share your story, we have you covered. To learn more, visit asheragency.com.
My guest is Dr. Bethany Meighen. Dr. Meighen, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me, especially at what must be a very busy time, because you're just really getting started in your role. You've only been there, 4 months now?
Yes, sir. Started in early July, so just a couple weeks on the job and loving every minute of it.
Well, great. Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And I want to hear more about your experience as president of Concord University in just a few minutes. But as I typically do with our guests, I want to start by going back in time to your career path. And you've obviously achieved quite a bit in your career. You're kind of at the pinnacle of higher ed administration. But I'd like to go back to when you were first thinking about a potential career path. What were you thinking you would do as an adult? And when did you decide that higher ed might be somewhere where you want to spend your career?
Sure. When I was in high school, I had an amazing librarian. I really loved her. She was amazing. She helped me with a lot of research, and I loved doing research and reading. So I thought I would go to school to be a librarian. I really thought that was the path that I wanted to do. I have teachers in my family. My mom is a nurse. My mom tried to get me to be a nurse. I volunteered many a summers at her hospital and decided that is not my path, but I really enjoyed reading in the library and things. So I went off to college to, think about becoming a librarian, and had a wonderful college experience. And I got really involved with student activities and community service and being a part of Greek life. And, had that really wonderful co-curricular opportunities. And I didn't know that was a career. Truly, I didn't realize, being in higher ed that way, if you weren't a faculty member, that being on the student affairs side was a career. So it was really just being involved through Greek life and student activities. And it was time for me to graduate and think about, going on to library science or master's program. And I had a wonderful dean of students at the University of Charleston who poured into me. His name is Doug Walters, a great mentor. And was like, Bethany, I think this could be a good place for you. You really enjoy working with students. I planned homecoming. I had planned lots of events. You've got a great skill with that. What about being a graduate assistant with us for a year? And I didn't even know that was an opportunity. So I got to do that. And I got to work on my master's in human resource management. And I got that degree for free. And I was like, this seems great. I can stay in college another year. I can get a degree. And over that year, I learned more about all the different opportunities in higher ed. I was over community service. I did some student leadership. And then while I was there, the director of alumni relations job came open. And I was like, oh, gosh, this seems like another great opportunity. I love being around people. I love planning events. I love hearing why people enjoyed being a part of the University of Charleston community. And I wasn't ready to leave. I loved being at the University of Charleston. It was such a special place for me. Small school, much like Concord, was in an area where my family is from. And I just really flourished there. And I was like, oh, sure. I'd love to be the director of alumni relations if I can keep planning events, talking with people about what makes this place special. And I get to stay at a place that's meant so much to me. So I did the alumni relations job for a few years. I had wonderful mentors at the University of Charleston. I was very fortunate. The president at the time was Dr. Ed Welch. He ended up being there 25 years. He's a legend in our area for higher education. His wife, Dr. Janet Welch, she came from another campus. She had a strong background in communications. And while she wasn't my boss, she was a wonderful mentor to me. Our alumni house, we had a little house on campus that was directly across from the president's house. And we shared it with the communications office. And she herself had a communications background. So she would often come over and work on the alumni magazine, other events. And she gave me such great advice about how to be a young woman in the profession, how to advocate for myself, how to set high standards. And so, and then I just didn't want to leave. Once you get to be that's really when I think about it, I couldn't think of a place that was better than the University of Charleston in many ways. And that really came down to being around students. It's it's really special to help a student figure out, I like to say, who they are, who they want to be. And then if you're really lucky, you get to see them change the world. And I got to do that all the time at UC, from being a graduate assistant. Then I was in marketing, moved my way up. And then there was an opportunity to be the dean of students. And I loved that job. I got to work with students every day, again, helping them pursue their dreams. I ended up being there over a decade at the University of Charleston, almost 16 years, just because I didn't want to do it. But I don't know that you grew up thinking you'll be in student affairs. I don't know a lot of kids that think this is a gig, to be a dean of students, right? You don't know that's a gig. I knew being a librarian was a gig, but I was there for many years.
So where did the master's in human resource management come in? Was that a pivot away from library, or was it, I can get a free degree, I may as well pursue it?
So that was a part of the GA package, right? They had two master's programs. You could either do business or human resource management. I have no math skills. I got my degree in English. I knew the reading, and I was and the HR piece had a lot of leadership development, which I really enjoy. And it was free. That was the free part, because I remember this very clearly. I only made $421 every month as a graduate assistant. So getting that free degree was amazing. What a great opportunity.
And I can relate. As a fellow English major, I ended up pursuing a master's in English, completing a master's in English, because there was tuition reimbursement, not because I had any plan for it. So listeners out there, if you ever have tuition reimbursement, take advantage of it for sure. And I really, what you're saying about working with students really resonates with me. I obviously haven't been as embedded in higher ed as you've been, but I've been an adjunct over the years, and I keep coming back to it, even though my wife keeps saying, are you sure you want to do that? It's more time. You already work hard enough. But there's something about working with students. It's hard to get away from it once you've done it, if you have a heart for it at all. So sorry, I cut you off there. So you're talking about your path, your 10 years in an institution, and then another opportunity comes up. So let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, I loved being the dean of students. At one point, our house was on the campus. My backyard backed up to the freshman parking lot. So students would walk over all the time, knock on our back door. We'd walk over. We'd eat in the dining hall. We'd go to events, and it was just a really special place to be that ingrained in a community. We did that for several years, and I had two young children at the time. My two boys. Now I have three, but I had two young children at the time, and friend. I'm going to brag. I would have to say, I'm in the top 10 of best dean of students ever. I was an amazing dean of students. I went to all of the events. I would patrol the residence halls in the evenings. I was so engaged. I was everywhere I could be. I was not a good parent to my own kids because I was such a good parent to other people's children. And that was a really hard realization for me. And I got to a point where I'm not doing what I need to do for my family because I'm so worried about what's happening to the 700-800 kids that live on my campus, and how do I make sure they're safe and taken care of. And at that time, my husband's job was progressing, and he started to travel more, and he got transferred. He got this opportunity in North Carolina. And as a family, we decided that was a really good move for us. So we moved in North Carolina and for his job, and I got to go back and work on my doctorate. So I got to be a full-time doctoral student and be home with my two young boys, who before that, for each one of them, I only could take 6 weeks off of maternity leave. So now I got to be a parent more.
So I really appreciate you sharing what you just shared about that realization. Did you have that realization at the time, or is this something you only see reflecting back?
I remember my husband was traveling, and we were in a basketball tournament. My school was in a basketball tournament. I was the one that was responsible for getting the tickets for the students. So we had to meet them there. And my elder son at the time, he would have been in kindergarten. I got a call that he was running a fever, and I had to go pick him up. And I had to take him with me to the basketball game and hand out tickets. And I remember giving him the Motrin on the drive over, and the poor buddy is just sitting in the seat at the basketball game. And I'm like, this is not the mom I want to be. This is not the mom I want to be. And so it was very, and that's when I was like, all right, we've got to pivot. We've got to figure out, how do I do this different?
Well, and good for you for having that realization. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that, myself very much included, where, while you regret that you didn't see that sooner, you're glad that you saw it at all, right? I'm kind of going through my second stint in parenting. I've got a son who's 26 and an 11-year-old stepdaughter. And I think of all the time I spent when my son was young. He's at the park, but I'm sitting on a bench on my phone doing what I think is something important. And one of the lessons I took away from that is almost everything can wait. You're only going to have so much time with your own kids, your stepkids, whatever it is. So I think a lot of people need to hear that, especially with the success you've had in your career. It's okay to dial back and say, I'm going to put my family first, knowing that the career will still be there and I will still be not only employable, but I'll be a valuable part of the team, even if I put my family first.
Right. No, and we are very similar, friend. I have 3 boys. My 2 eldest are 20. My middle son will be 16 soon, and then the baby is 7. So I think about all of that time that I missed when my 2 eldest, because like you, I was on the phone or I was busy and everything. And now I've got this 7-year-old to try to redo things with. But it was a good opportunity for me to go back to school. I had never got to study higher education and student affairs leadership. I got a degree in English. I got a master's in human resource management, and then I had a lot of on-the-job training. So now I'm in this environment where I just get to study higher ed and learn how to be a really good higher education professional. And I was in this wonderful program at UNC Wilmington where it wasn't just people pursuing their doctorate in higher education leadership. We also were with folks in the K-12 system. So that was another great opportunity for me to understand what happens in K-12, because I joke, but it's true. I kind of just thought our students showed up at our door. Like, I didn't think a lot about what had happened before, because you just get so ingrained. And now being in a class with the principal and assistant principal and hearing what they do, I was like, oh, I should have been talking to you a lot sooner. So I worked on my doctorate, had a wonderful time at UNCW, but talk about, you just mentioned like taking a break and but still being able to move forward. So I come from being a dean of students where I had a staff of 12 to 15, had a lot of stature. I was a mover and shaker a little bit there, friend. And then I go and I become a graduate assistant at UNCW Watson College of Education. And they were great parts of being a graduate assistant. Some of them were getting to do research. But I'll tell you, my first project for them is I had to scan a 300-page book for a faculty member. So I'm sitting there on a old school scanner, scanning every page for the faculty member. And then the other job is every morning I had to make the coffee for the faculty. I don't drink coffee, and I don't even make my husband's coffee. And then on Fridays, I had to clean out the fridge. So I go from being dean of students to having an assistant, to having all of this support, to I'm scanning a book, I'm making coffee, and I'm cleaning the fridge on Friday. But you know what? I got my school at a discounted rate. I got a stipend, and as the weeks went on and the faculty got to trust me, I got better projects, right? I got to do more depth research, but it was a little jarring. Was
there ever any moment when you said, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake? Or did you know that better days were ahead?
So not with the work. When I went to doctoral student orientation, I was like, what have I done? I can't do this. I hadn't been in school in over a decade. And they're talking about, I remember, making a Prezi. I don't know what a Prezi is. Now I don't even think people use that anymore, but and writing like a 5 to 6 page paper. I hadn't written anything longer than a memo in forever. So it wasn't the work. It was sitting in doctoral orientation being like, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know that I can do this. And I had such imposter syndrome that I was like, what have I done? And I'm committed to doing it at least for a semester. Yeah. So it was really hard that first semester. Very hard.
But what a great lesson for the students you have contact with now. I mean, I was just having this conversation today with one of my younger coworkers. I said, when people are just getting started in their careers, they look at people like you, to some extent, like me, some of our CEO, and they'll say, well, it's probably always been that way for that person. But we have to share those stories about some of our early struggles to let these students know they're capable of much more than they might see in themselves. They just need someone who's going to give them a shot. I mean, every change in my trajectory, life-wise and career-wise, has been because somebody believed I was capable of something that I didn't believe I was capable of. And pushing through that discomfort, that imposter syndrome is what gets you there. And I think people need to hear that, especially today.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it gave me such a better understanding for, adult learners that go back to school, right? And just how we need to encourage and lift them up and remind them that the experiences that you bring are so valuable. Just because you don't know how to make a Prezi, right? It doesn't matter. And I got in the swing of things. I got better. I had wonderful opportunities. I worked in educational leadership, and then I got to work in faculty development. I got to be on a big $1 million grant. Like all of these things, I put myself out there. But it was, what am I doing? Am I smart enough to do this?
Yeah. Well, I always say that if you have imposter syndrome, that's just a sign you're a decent human being. It means you have
a little bit of humility.
Yeah. I know people who don't have it, and those aren't, the type of people we want to spend time with. So good for you. All right. So you finish the doctorate, and then where do you go from there?
So I was in my last year of my doctoral program. Yeah. I had this great plan. I was finishing my coursework. I was going to have that year to write my dissertation. I was looking at the experience of transfer students, how they do transferring from a 2-year to 4-year. Had a really great rhythm. My kids were doing well in school. I was volunteering in the preschool. Everything was going really well. And then my husband's company downsized. And they downsized, and we got a nice severance package that we thought, okay, this will get us through the next 2 months and he'll find a job. Well, month 3, he still doesn't have a job. And now we don't have health insurance. And as a graduate assistant, not making enough money for us to really support ourselves in the way. So I just start looking for any job that I can that has health insurance. And I start reaching out to the network of folks that I met through UNCW, through some opportunities. And there was this advisor to the statewide Student Government Association for North Carolina, a position that was posted. And I knew someone that worked at the UNC system. And so I applied and I said, hey, I've just sent my application in, would love to do it. I looked at some opportunities at UNCW, and there was a couple, but they were all part-time and they didn't have health insurance. And I was a mother with 2 active boys that by that time, I can't tell you how many broken arms, earaches. I mean, these things add up, and health insurance is really expensive. So I was so fortunate to get this. I was the advisor for the Association of Student Governments for North Carolina, and it came with insurance, and it was a good salary. The only problem was it was in Raleigh and we lived in Wilmington. And I was like, wasn't sure I was going to move my family. And there was also
kids are in school. They've got their friend group established.
They do. My kids are in school. We still keep thinking my husband's going to find something, right? Because for the majority of my career, my husband has been the higher breadwinner, right? I mean, I was in community service programming. I was dean of students at a small private school. He has been the one that provided our insurance, all of, all the, I like to joke, my husband's name's I'm like, it was the bank of Drew Men when I paid for things, right? The bank of Drew Men paid for things. So I commuted for 1.5 years from Raleigh to Wilmington. I would get up early on Mondays. I would drive. I would stay at a hotel or a friend's house for 2 days. I'd come back, stay overnight midweek, like Thursday, and then go back for Friday. Because I wasn't sure what was going to happen and if this was a great opportunity for my family. And if you've ever had to move your children, it's really hard, no matter how much you prepare, no matter how much you talk to them about it. It's a big change for them. So I wanted to be really sure, because moving from West Virginia to Wilmington, that was a big adjustment. Now I'm making it even harder because they built that friend group earlier. So I wanted to make sure this is what is best for the family.
They're a little older and a little bit more established, and have their routine and the friends they enjoy, right?
They do. Yeah. And they were thriving in Wilmington. They really were. And by this point, what are we? We're almost we're 3rd grade in pre-K. So those are really kind of foundational years where you want your kids to be doing well. So I commuted for 1.5 years. And during that 1.5 years, I was so fortunate. I had a number of wonderful supervisors that really invested in me and kept giving me additional opportunities at the UNC system. So I went from being the ASG advisor to the director of student development. I got that promotion. At that point, I was like, okay, I like what I'm doing here. I get to work with students across the state. I get to come up with leadership programs for them. I love who I'm working for. I feel empowered to help students. And I think this is where we should move. So we ultimately relocated our family again, which was hard. Again, with children, it's really hard. My eldest son, when he's being a little bit ornery, he's 20, he'll sort of antagonize me. I went to 4 schools in like 6 years, basically, right? And I'm like, yes. And I live with a lot of mother's guilt. I do, a lot of guilt. But we moved to the Raleigh Apex area. My husband was finally able to find employment. And I just kept getting wonderful opportunities at the UNC system. I got to do more work in enrollment and financial aid. I had a great boss, Dr. Carrie Dixon, who really believed in me and empowered me to try new things. And so I just steadily moved my way up. And then at one point, Dr. Dixon became the interim chancellor, or what we call here president of Elizabeth City State University. And I got to be her interim while she wasn't at the system office and show my leadership style, show the initiatives I wanted to take. And then I was very fortunate to ultimately get that job. And I served as vice president for academic and student affairs for the University of North Carolina system office for over 5 years, the system represents the 16 public universities in North Carolina. I had over 240,000 students. And so It was an amazing opportunity to learn. Like, I got to work with 16 different schools over my 10 years there and learn from some of the strongest chancellors in the system, some of the best student advocate leaders. I had a wonderful chancellor of the system, President Hans, that gave me great opportunities to learn and grow. And I still got to invest in student success, which is really at the heart of what I do. And so it was really good. But had you told me, what was it? Let's see, 2000, whatever years, when I was making that coffee for the faculty member, that I would be here today, I would have been hard pressed. I would have been like, not sure. Right now, I'm just trying to make the coffee so that I can scan this thing, so that I can do my homework, so that I can pass this class. Like, that's really just where I was.
So you're with the system for about 7.5 years. My math is right. And then the opportunity that you're in now comes up. So tell me a little bit about that. And was it difficult to leave the place where you'd been for more than 7 years? And what about this opportunity was attractive to you?
We're taking a quick break from our episode to talk about something that can elevate your brand to new heights: digital marketing. With a team of creative minds and strategic thinkers, Asher specializes in everything from eye-catching ad campaigns to social media management and website design. Visit asheragency.com for more info.
My husband is from West Virginia. I went to school in West Virginia. All of my family is in West Virginia. And as our family and our parents have started to age, we've been looking to get back to West Virginia. And so we'd been talking about it for a while, trying to figure out when would be a good time. And I have a heart to lead, and I wanted to be a college president. The year before I came here, I spent time with the American Council of Education as an ACE fellow. That's a presidential preparation program. I spent a year fellowship. I was at the University of Lynchburg. I was at Elon, learning about what it means to be a college president and lead. And, I think that someone with my background, who comes from student affairs, who comes from that student-centered approach, I think a mother, someone as a working parent, makes an excellent college president, because we have a better understanding of a lot of the challenges that our students are facing. We have a better understanding of some of the challenges our faculty and staff face in doing the good work. So we were really looking for a presidential opportunity, but most importantly, we wanted to move back to West Virginia. I had an amazing job in North Carolina. Let me tell you, I had a fantastic job. I had a wonderful team that I built. We had a great life. And then this job posted, read more about it. Over a winter break, my husband and I drove up here. The campus was closed for the winter break. We drove around, we looked around, and I went ahead and applied. And I wasn't sure, I never applied for presidency, so I don't know that I'm a great candidate. And then I got the call for a Zoom interview, and I met with the folks and talked about my leadership philosophy and, who I am, what I believe in, that I'm a little loud sometimes. So I'm not maybe your typical college president. I'm a little over the top. I'm a little loud. I'm a lot of joyfulness. Met them. And then they invited me for what they call the airport interview, kind of the secret interview, where I got to go meet with some more folks and talked with them about, why I think Concord is a really great place for someone like me. One is it's a small school. That's where I thrive. I did so well there as a student. Everybody knows your name here, right? And I think that's really important. They have some enrollment challenges, which we all have. I have great experience in enrollment. I got to work on that at this system. They have some issues that we're dealing with about how do we create the best student experience. I've got good experience in there. So some of my strengths align with some of the areas they're working on, which was really helpful. And then things that they are doing so well, I don't have experience in. So I can learn from the wonderful, I've got a great cabinet, great faculty. So it seemed like a win-win. And then they narrowed it down to 3 candidates. We came to campus. I had a 1.5 day interview. I got to meet with faculty, staff, students, because before this, you meet with a very small group. And I got to be here and I was like, this is a special place. This is an amazing place. Change students' lives. They're such a part of the community here, which is so important. And I was like, I really want this job. I want to be here. I want to be a part of this special Mountain Line family. And I was very nervous. And it takes several weeks after you do this, right? There's lots of reviews and things. So I just kept waiting. And I was like, I feel like this is where I'm called to be. But if not, I still have a great job. And then finally I got offered the opportunity and I was just so thankful. And it's a harder job than I thought, not because it's Concord, just you think you know what a president does. And then even though I did internships and I shadowed people, it's very different when those decisions either you have to make or you need to make them collaboratively. And now we're just back in West Virginia, which is amazing. So my kids get to see, their grandmother more, their cousins, their aunts and uncles. People come to their games. In North Carolina, they didn't have that opportunity. And so my older boys, they're older. They don't get that much. But my 7-year-old, what a different experience he gets to have. And so it's pretty fantastic.
That's amazing. And congratulations. And by the way, higher ed could use a little bit more loud and a little bit more joyful. So there you go.
Cup of tea, but yes.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, and I do think it's a different time, right? I do a little bit of work with Indiana Tech and Carl Einoff, who's the president of Indiana Tech. He's a very different personality than his predecessor. And actually, you mentioned, the qualities that a female leader brings to a college. He and his wife, Maria, they're actually a package deal. She's positioned herself as the first mom of the university. And, because Carl recognizes that there are qualities he doesn't bring that his wife has. So, I understand that. And great for you to see some of the strengths you have while also being willing to learn from others. That's something that I think will position you really well moving forward. So for those who aren't familiar with Concord, tell me about the university. What are some of the things that excite you about where the university is and where you're going?
So, I mentioned some of the areas that I'm not as strong in. I did not come up through faculty, right? That was not my trajectory. So I'm not strong in academic program development, those things. And here I have a very strong academic leadership team, provost, wonderful faculty. And so 2 of the new programs that have just started within the past 3 years is we started a school of nursing. We graduated our first cohort of nurses this past fall. All 5 are employed. All 5 passed their boards, which is amazing. And now we're able to admit more students. And then we just started a physician assistance program. So we have 24 students start this fall. So, we're becoming more involved in the healthcare industry.
There's such a need there. I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and they were saying, it used to be a manufacturing economy, then we became a service economy, a knowledge worker economy, and the future is going to be that our country will be a healthcare economy because of the number of people needing care and the number of opportunities there. So good for you in seeing that and redesigning the programs so that you can have a chance to capitalize on some of that.
Oh, certainly. And all the credit goes to the former president here, Dr. Boggess, and her team for seeing the need of our community. We're in Southern West Virginia. We are in many ways a healthcare desert. We don't have enough providers. And so bringing nursing and PA helps. Our mission always at Concord, we like to say, is come to learn, go to serve. So our graduates go out and they're social workers. We're the largest producers of social workers in the state. We have a large teacher education program. So we're going out in the classrooms. And then our School of Business is helping entrepreneurship. And so healthcare, while a little bit different than what they've done in the past, really aligns well with our mission of service. And so that's one of the things I'm most excited about is we have these wonderful academic programs that produce really high quality graduates that can go out and serve their communities. And the other thing I'm excited about is if you know anything about West Virginia, often folks, if they stay, young people to get their degree here, then they leave the state. Yeah. Our students from our data are staying in the region. So they're staying and they're going to be the nurse, the teacher, the social worker, the business owner, which is only going to help Southern West Virginia continue to grow and revitalize. And so it's excited to be a part of a place that is helping students, but also you can see that direct impact in the community. My youngest son goes to the elementary school that's less than a mile down the road. And it's so cool. His teacher is a Concord grad. And so I can just see that connection. And he gets dropped off and he goes to the aftercare program on my campus. But he's getting taught by one of my previous students.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a nice circle.
Yeah. So what do you think? Why do you think those students are staying? Not asking you to give up any secret sauce, but is it because there's career opportunity? Because there's something that's happening that makes them see their future in this region? Why do you think they're staying and not going to another state or elsewhere in the state?
I think a lot of it is the degrees that we offer, that there are career opportunities for them here in the state. And there are wonderful career opportunities in the state, being a nurse, being a PA once we get it, teachers, again, the social work program, our wonderful social work program is responsible for all of the foster care training in the state. So we work with almost 1,000 foster care families this year to help them be trained and become certified to become foster families. And so having that community connection helps find these students jobs. And I think a lot of folks, we lived in North Carolina, but we wanted to come home. We wanted to be back in West Virginia. So had there been opportunities earlier, we would have tried to do that.
Well, and I think one of the things that sometimes young people don't fully realize, and I only realize this now that I'm in my mid-50s, is sometimes, states like West Virginia, Indiana, in my case, because of there's the outmigration of other students, if you want to make an impact in your 20s, if you want to be in leadership in your 20s, you can do it. You're not going to have to wait for the opportunity to step up and be part of your community. The opportunity is there. And again, there's great reasons why people might want to move to Chicago or Boston or New York. But if you can leverage some of the benefits of living in a smaller community, you can make a huge difference pretty quickly.
And that, again, aligns well with our mission of service, right? Yeah. So if you're staying in this area because your family's here and you want to still be part, but you're here to serve this region and see the great impact that you can have. You can go down to McDowell County and be a math teacher and help those students, or you could, go down to Mercer and be a nurse at one of our VA clinics and things. So the impact you have is huge, and it's very life-changing, not just for yourself, but for those that you pour into.
Yeah. So how is Concord dealing with some of the challenges that are common across higher ed? You mentioned enrollment, the ROI conversation. And I'll disclaim, I am a huge believer in higher ed. It changed my trajectory. I was the world's worst college student my first semester, an instructor about 3 semesters in, which I should have been a junior. I was about, credit-wise, I was a freshman. Had an instructor tap me on the shoulder and show potential that I didn't see in myself. After that, I was off to the races. So it changed my life. But, there's real conversations today about the ROI of a college education. There's people who believe, I can do it myself with all the tools available to me. How do you make a case for Concord as a great choice despite some of those challenges and some of that conversation nationally?
No. And what we hear nationally is students are graduating with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and they are forced to live in their parents' basement. I would be happy if my eldest decided to move home with me, but that's a whole different story, right? But, we hear, and they can't find the jobs that they want, right? Yeah. And that's not the narrative here at Concord. Last year, our last graduating class, half of them graduated debt-free. So they left here with a 4-year degree with no debt. So they got to start their career as a teacher, a social worker, a business person with no debt. And you know what a trajectory that changed. So many more doors open when you're not carrying student debt load. And so that in itself sets you up for success. I think the other thing that we found is our students that go on to graduate programs are so well prepared. We have a nice pipeline to the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine right down the road. So we have an early admit program so students can come here. Then they just go an hour and 10 minutes down the road to Lewisburg and can start being a doctor and being in that medical program. So we've got great statistics there. And then again, we just really have faculty, like you mentioned that faculty member, like tapping you on the shoulder. Like I have 108 faculty member and all of them tap kids on the shoulders and say, I believe in you. I'm here to support you. What can we do to help you be successful? And not only do I have faculty that do that, I have staff that when the students in the dining hall, how are you doing? They check on them. I've got staff who, when they take, their money at the bill paying, what's going on? How's your mom? How's your dad? And then I'm so fortunate. I also have alumni and community and donors that believe in what we do. So they pour in resources to us because I don't want finances to be the reason you're not here.
Yeah.
We might not be a good fit for you. Not everybody's a good fit, right? You might need a bigger school, but I don't want you to stop out because you can't afford the tuition or something happened to your car. Like, what can we do so that when you're here, you just get to focus on being on a student and you get to be a little selfish. Like once you get to a certain age, you get done, like you don't get to be selfish anymore. But when you're here in school, you just get to focus on learning and growing and pushing yourself. And so I'm very proud of what we do here every day. We're changing lives and we're pushing to keep that statistic growing. Like I'd like us one day to be able to say 75% of our students leave debt free because we know so many of our students are first generation. They're the first one in their family to come to college, graduate, and then they'll pull up everybody else. I think about, so my papa, he stopped out of school when he was about 10. He was one of 8 kids, so he had to stop out of school. He was in West Virginia. He tried working in the mines. He was claustrophobic. It didn't work out. So he went to go work for the local butcher. So he was a butcher. All he wanted for my dad and uncle was to go to college. So my papa, who stopped out before high school, my mama graduated high school, ended up being a stay-at-home mom. She worked at the mall so that my uncle and dad could go to college. So now my papa, who never went on a plane, the only time he left West Virginia was to go to the beach, to Oak Island. If he was around, he died very early. If he was around, he could see that his one granddaughter is a college president. My brother lives in Ireland and is a video game designer. My other brother lives in Ireland, works for the Irish government, and is a Chinese translator. Just because my papa and mama said they wanted my dad and uncle to go to college and did everything they could to make sure both of them got degrees. And this is where we are because my papa and mama said, you guys are going to college. My mama went to work at the Montgomery wards. Like while I'm not first gen, I see that. And I think my papa looking down is so proud of all of us. He would have been proud no matter what we did, but he couldn't imagine that because he had to drop out and just focus on the family. So it changes lives. And my story, I hear it from my students all the time about how their lives are changed.
Yeah, well, 100%. And, that's the argument that I try to make with folks. If we're having a healthy debate about the value of college, I'll say, what else do we have in our society that can help people move up intellectually, socially, financially this quickly, in 4 to 6 years? There's nothing. There's nothing else that serves as that conduit. Something else that strikes me as you're talking is the amazing opportunity your graduates have to have an economic impact because, not only are they earning in good jobs right after they graduate, but because they're carrying less debt, they're able to buy homes, they're able to invest and do other things that can truly make them, game changers in the communities where they choose to settle. I think that's amazing. That's a story I think more universities would love to tell. So what's been, you're obviously very well prepared for the job of being a college president, but what's the thing that's maybe surprised you the most, the thing you didn't see coming and that you're maybe still working on?
So I like to joke I have a priority list and a parking lot list and a list. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And I thought there might be a good mix between the three, right? I'm still learning, right? While I had a fellowship, while I was at a great system where I learned a lot, I'm in a new state. So I'm learning the new state funding guidelines. I'm learning how everything is different, right? So I think for me, it's just that it's the speed that things come to a president's office was greater than I thought it was. I didn't realize how much comes at you. And I grew up in a profession, student affairs. You try to solve things very quickly because you only have 16 weeks to help a student, right? So I want to chop down a tree. I want to get that barrier out of your way and move forward. And I realized I got to move a little bit slower. I got to be more strategic in what I'm doing. And it's okay that my priority, my parking lot, and I'm not sure what to do list all of a sudden can be overlapping. And so, and then it's just, while all of that's really hard. It's also just like the things that people share with me about their experiences has been really special. Like to get to hear their stories and why they want to support me, even though they know nothing about me, but because they love this place and it gave them so much, like they're all behind me. And that's an amazing feeling when someone says to me, Dr. Meighen, whatever you need us to do, because this place gave us so much, whatever I can do to help you. And I'm like, and they don't know me. They don't know, that I'm a good person. I'm going to work hard for you. I want to do good work. But just that level of support and faith it makes this job easier. And it means that I can pour that much more into my students. So it's been humbling. And then I have a 7-year-old. So he comes to lots of events. And friend, he's going to be college president. I think that's the other cool thing. I know you'd ask me that, but we'll go visit other campuses. We'll do things and he'll come back and be like, hey, Mom, this school had this. Why don't we have this? And I'm like, buddy, put it on the list. It costs money. Or now he'll be like, I know we should really have this, but I bet it costs a lot of money. And I'm like, it does. And just how perceptive he is. He is. He's got a little name tag that says future president in training. He's got a suit he wears when we go places.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
The memories we'll have together is very special.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, one of the things you said too, the fact that you have alumni and others who are offering to help. I think it's one of the things that's special about a smaller institution. There's accountability, right? If I'm at a big machine where there are hundreds of thousands of alumni, I might not feel like I have to get involved because other people might have it covered. But when you have a smaller alumni community, I think folks say, hey, if not me, then who? If this place is going to thrive and be a name that I'm going to be proud to stand by, and if it's going to have a legacy, I need to do something. I need to get involved. I might not be able to give to the level of having my name on a building, but I can certainly give my time and give my talent to the institution. So sounds like you're leveraging that too. All right, I'm going to pivot. I know you're busy and I know you have a lot on your plate, your 3 lists. So I'm going to get to 3 final questions that hopefully bring together everything we've talked about. Dr. Meighen, you've obviously had a very successful career. You've experienced, some of the highs, some of the lows. What have you learned that you would say represents your best career advice? If you were talking to your 7-year-old son or anyone else about what it takes to have a successful, fulfilling career, what would you say?
I would definitely say your path isn't written in stone. That things, where you think, you mentioned like, while you think this is the lowest of low and you don't want to do this, it will get better. And so never close the door on an opportunity. I could have, when I went to be a graduate assistant and found out the job duties were scanning and making, I could have been like, never mind, I'll try to find a job in the community. But I realized I can get something out of this. And so I would say, your path isn't written in stone. Be very flexible, be open to new opportunities. And then the other thing is I would just have a sense of gratitude. You need to thank everybody that's been in your path. Well, I think that faculty member that gave me that book that I had to scan that was 300 pages, right? I learned how to use that scanner. I learned how to use those skills I hadn't done. But gratitude goes a really long way. And people remember that. And it just seems to really breed a really wonderful culture and a sense of like empowerment in you and support for you.
Yeah. Well, and when you attain the position that you're in, you realize you can't do it alone. You need a lot of support. And one of the best motivators is that people feel appreciated. So good for you for recognizing that. All right, second quick hit question. What is a myth or misconception that you would like to debunk? It could be something about being a university president or higher ed in general that is untrue, or it could be something that isn't well enough appreciated. What's something you want to clear up when it comes to your role or institutions in general?
Sure. I've been thinking about this one. I think folks think the president just sits behind this big desk a lot and, makes some decrees and do things. But in reality, my job is so much more out in the community and people-centered. And I get to talk with students and listen to faculty and staff. And I meet with community partners. And so it's really just being out of the office, making sure that I'm advocating. And I don't sit at my desk enough. Trust me.
Yeah.
Hardly. This is probably the longest I've sat in a long time. And I appreciate that, but it's getting out there and meeting with people and listening and trying to figure out how is Concord the best partner for you as a student, as a faculty, as staff, or as the community.
Yeah. Well, and it's I would guess it's true that you're important to the community you're in, not just as an education provider, but as an employer, as a part of the community in a number of different ways. So you have to be collaborative. You can't just sit at your desk and have all the answers. You got to talk to people.
We have over 300 employees at Concord. So we're a major driver for the Athens-Princeton area. And we're proud of being a part of the Athens community. It's a great small town. Princeton's the next town over. We're very proud to be in Mercer County.
Well, it sounds like that master's in human resources is going to serve you well there. Okay. So one more quick hit question. What is a tool that you use that helps you be more efficient and effective? And I've had guests answer with digital tools, analog tools, so anything goes. What's something that helps you get the work done?
So if you'd ask my children, they would say their mother does not understand technology, that she can text. So that is very amusing. I don't understand all that while we have 3 remote controls for our TV. So that tech piece is not my strength, even though I'm really good with the shared calendar. But my best hack for, I think, any leader, once you get to maybe this stage where you don't get to have the direct interaction, is you got to get away from your desk. You got to stop answering emails and you got to get out and talk to people. And so I'm trying to be really intentional that at least 1 or 2 nights a week, my family, we eat in the dining hall so that I can see students and I can talk to them and I can see the food that gets served them. Or Sunday night, we drove to Charleston, which is about 90 minutes on the road, to watch our men's soccer team play and cheer them on, right? You've got to get out so that people see you and relate to you. And you learn more when you're around the folks that you're supposed to be helping. And so that would be my biggest hack is, set aside some time. Maybe each day is a little ambitious, but that you can get out and just talk with folks about what's going on to make sure that your team has all the resources that they need. And for me, it also energizes me. Like when I get out and get to go to these events or eat in the dining hall or stop down and visit the registrar, I feel, hey, this is what we're doing well. Or if we're not doing it well, now I know and I have a better understanding. So give yourself that time to get out and talk to the people who really do the hard work, right? My job is not as hard as anybody else's on this campus. Folks work so much harder than me, and I have to be the advocate to make sure they have the resources and support so that they can serve our students so well.
Well, whatever you're doing to get inspired in your work, it shows. Your energy is really infectious. I can say, you and I just met, but I think that you're in a great spot to make a difference in the lives of your students just based on what I've heard here today. So I really appreciate you sharing your story with us, and good luck as you move ahead at Concord.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. It's great to be able to share what a special place Concord is.
Well, thanks again. And thanks to everyone who took this opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.
Thank you for tuning into the Asher Marketing Podcast. We hope that you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us grow. Join us next time for another exciting episode.